Midnight on Earth podcast with your host, Jake Weaver. Engineered by Cedric Swan. Hey everybody, we are back with another episode of Midnight on Earth. I'm your host, Jake Weaver, and we're here to bring you more knowledge, more light, and more love. I love you guys. Hello. Happy New Year. Hello, 2025. We made it, people. 2025. We're still alive. I hope you're feeling well. I know I am. It's going to be a fantastic year. I'm so excited for what's to come, not just with the show, but just with life, with everything. So much growth, so much positivity. The world is changing. Humanity is evolving. Our vibration is raising. So much good is happening. So here we are, 2025. We're back with a lecture episode. This time, we're talking about the Anunnaki, the 12th planet, and more, as we listen to an interview with two very legendary people, the interviewer and the interviewee, in conspiracy theory circles, New Age, metaphysical people, all of that. Everyone in those circles knows about Zecharia Sitchin and Jordan Maxwell. Jordan Maxwell was like the proto-conspiracy theorist. I mean, he was out there uncovering things in the analog world. And so was Zecharia Sitchin. Of course, he wrote the book, The 12th Planet. We're going to talk about his bio. But he did so much. And we've never covered this. We've never focused specifically on the Anunnaki and the theory that they created humanity or had a big role in upgrading humanity to mine for gold. Let's talk about that in just a second. But first, I need you to do something for me. Follow me on Instagram at midnight_on_earth. That is the address. You can follow me there. Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, wherever you go to get your podcasts. Click that button that connects us so you know exactly what is going on. You get a notification to your device or wherever you get that. I don't know. Maybe you have the Neuralink. This is the future. This is 2035 and you're listening to this. That may be the case. And it only happens if you follow us on all these platforms. Most importantly is still the human experience, which is to tell someone, spread the word of mouth, tell a friend, tell someone that you know that loves these type of podcasts, that wants to talk about this. You've heard me now for hundreds of episodes. You understand the Midnight on Earth frequency. You know exactly what we are doing here. So tell those people that need to know, bring them here. midnightonearth.com. And this is an incredible time to talk about the person that is usually here for the lecture episodes, but unfortunately she could not make it here today. Bryn Anderson of Vital Force Herbs. She could not be here. She sends her love. She sends her well wishes, and she says happy 2025 to everyone listening. And of course, she's our sponsor. So Vital Force Herbs is her company. She creates amazing herbal blends. She uses all of her knowledge, all of her expertise to create these blends that address specific wellness situations that you might find yourself in. Grounded calm, deepest dreams, resilient heart, immune support, so many great things there. And if you go to the website, you will see all this, vitalforceherbs.com. And we have a discount code. It is the word midnight, MIDNIGHT, midnight. You put that in the discount code box at checkout, 30% off, free shipping on any order as little as one bottle, because she wants you to try this because it's unlike any other blends out there. She has a proprietary crystal infusion method that I believe activates something else. I don't know what that else is. It could be something like amplification of the plant spirit energy, the frequency, like an amplifier for a stereo or something like that. There's some sort of synthesis that then expands. I'm not sure what's happening there, but I know it's real because I've tried these things. Bryn has been a great support of this podcast. So if you're supporting Vital Force Herbs, you're supporting this podcast. So check it out. Use the discount code MIDNIGHT to get 30% off and free shipping. VitalForceHerbs.com, people. Go there. Tell me what you think. Okay, and now it's almost time for these two recordings that we're going to listen to. One is an interview with Jordan Maxwell and Zecharia Sitchin from 1997, where Jordan interviewed Zecharia. Then we're going to listen to a different interview a year before Zechariah's death, his graduation, actually, as we say here, in 2010. So very legendary content here. Both of these people have graduated, but we're resonating with them. We're resonating with their energies and bringing them on this show so we can listen to this and we can learn from it. It's very interesting. Very briefly, let's read both of their bios. We'll start with Zechariah's and then we'll go into Jordan's. So, here we go. Zecharia Sitchin was a visionary author and researcher whose groundbreaking ideas continue to captivate audiences worldwide. Raised in Palestine, Sitchin pursued an education in economics and history at the University of London. Despite his academic background, his true passion lay in exploring the mysteries of ancient civilizations and their enigmatic stories. Sitchin is best known for his seminal work, The 12th Planet, published in 1976. Zecharia Sitchin's 12th planet theory, introduced in that time, proposes that a hidden, distant planet called Nibiru orbits the sun every 3,600 years and is home to an advanced extraterrestrial race known as the Anunnaki. According to Sitchin, the Anunnaki visited Earth in ancient times, where they genetically engineered humans to create a labor force, particularly for mining gold. He links their influence to various ancient myths, such as the Sumerian creation stories and the biblical flood. Recent developments in astronomy have brought renewed attention to Sitchin's ideas, particularly regarding the search for a possible Planet 9. Astronomers have observed unusual gravitational patterns in the outer solar system, hinting at the existence of a massive, as yet undetected celestial body. While mainstream science does not confirm Nibiru, as described by Sitchin, the discovery of such a planet would echo key elements of his theories, sparking further curiosity about the connections between mythology and modern science. His enduring legacy lies in his ability to encourage humanity to look beyond the ordinary, embrace the extraordinary, and consider the boundless possibilities of our shared history in the universe. And also, he wrote over a dozen books. I think it's like 17 about the 12th planet. And by the way, the 9th planet used to be Pluto, for those that were confused by that bio. And here's a little bit about Jordan Maxwell. Jordan Maxwell was an American writer researcher who worked on theology, secret societies, etymology, and occultism. Maxwell is seen as a big name in the world of conspiracy theorists and served as an example for several authors and researchers in the field, including Michael Tsarian and David Icke. Maxwell spent 3 years as an editor at Truth Seeker magazine, made documentaries for CBS and ABC. And he's a legend in the scene, has been on dozens of shows and written many books himself. So this interview about this Anunnaki concept and more, and the Anunnaki themselves are an acknowledged part of archaeology. This isn't just made up concepts where Zecharia changes it or takes it to a different place, is how he says that the gods that are talked about in these Sumerian texts, the Anunnaki, referred to several times throughout some of these archaeological finds, are actually extraterrestrials. So the story's real, but he's saying, no, they're not mythological gods. They're actually extraterrestrials. So the Anunnaki, as far as we're concerned, in the third dimension, Western archaeology, are real. And very briefly, Wikipedia just says about the Anunnaki are a group of deities of the ancient Sumerians, Akkadians, Assyrians, and Babylonians. In the earliest Sumerian writings about them, which come from the post-Akkadian period, the Anunnaki are deities in the pantheon, descendants of An and Ki, and their primary function was to decree the fates of humanity. Trippy, right? The Anunnaki. Okay, so let's listen to this interview. 1997, Zecharia Sitchin and Jordan Maxwell sit down together, with Jordan essentially leading the conversation, being the interviewer. So he's taking the load off of me for this time. We're just going to listen together. And I'm taking notes. If you've never listened to a lecture episode before, when Bryn's here or it's just me, we're taking notes. I'm taking notes. We're listening. I'm listening. And then we're going to revisit this at the very end. And we'll talk about what we learned. I'm sure it's going to be very, very interesting. So here we go. Zecharia Sitchin and Jordan Maxwell, 1997.
But it's an honor to be in your company, and I really have enjoyed following your work for many years. And like most scholars in the ancient theological field, I have all kinds of questions I would like to ask Zecharia Sitchin.
You mean my books did not make it all clear?
Well, yes, it made it all clear, but I've got a few more questions yet.
Okay, we'll do our best.
First of all, the word Yahweh, one of the words are names of God in the Hebrew. Is this to be understood as a proper name, or is Yahweh, in fact, in Hebrew, describing something?
It is a descriptive term.
This is what I thought.
Yeah, it's not the proper name.
And could you explain to me exactly what it is describing?
It is usually translated, I am who I am, something like that. But more accurately, the tense, which in Hebrew it says eheyeh, asher eheyeh, is a future tense. And therefore it means I will be whoever I will be, in context of the whole biblical tale, and with a throwback to the Sumerian information that I provide in my books. It really means I can be whoever I choose to be. And this is explained in my latest book, Divine Encounters, who really God with the capital G, was, is, and will be.
Yes. That, I think, is a very important point that Christians need to understand, because so many Christians today, especially fundamentalists, have a set concept in their mind, a pat religious belief system, and it does not seem to fit with the ancient and original Hebrew. And that's why I'm mostly concerned with establishing what did the original Hebrew words mean, and try and get a better handle on where we're going in our Western world religion. There was a professor I heard once talking about Yahweh and why I was interested in it, and he said it also implied stored power that when it is released, it has something to do with power being released, the creative power being released. Does that?
Well, that would not flow from this term Yahweh. That is whatever an expansion into this particular professor's theology or beliefs. But obviously, if you contemplate, first of all, with the logic that God granted us, God with the capital G, you would say the following. Well, here we are on this planet called Earth by us, and intelligent life evolved here, according to the Sumerians, helped along a little by the Anunnaki from Nibiru, but there was evolution, which is, by the way, described very scientifically in the first chapter of Genesis. All those who think that there's a contradiction between Bible and evolution are totally wrong. Mm-hmm. So here we evolved, and we philosophically and otherwise say there is God, a creator of heaven, of earth, and of everything here. Now we say maybe there was, there is, there could be definitely life on Mars, another planet. Another question is, let's say so. Let's say that some beings evolved on Mars with our mental capacity. Did they have their own God? In other words, is there God of Earth and God of Mars and God of another planet? Mm-hmm. Now you say, no, that doesn't make sense. Mm-hmm. There must be one God, whatever we mean by that, of our whole solar system. Mm-hmm. Earth, Mars, doesn't matter. You say, okay, now we are discovering, which was logically, mathematically presumed before, we are discovering that there could be other solar systems and other planets around other stars or suns, and life could have evolved there. Mm-hmm. And Zecharia Sitchin and Jordan are sitting and discussing this whole issue, and they say, well, yes, that solar system where the seventh planet exists, etc., they have their God, their creator of, but we have our God. In other words, each solar system has a creator. Does this make sense? No. So you end up, if you really have an open mind, with saying there must be one power, to use the term that you mentioned from that professor, one power, one creator, one God, whatever we mean by that, that created everything, and not only created, in my opinion, but even determined the course of events from beginning to end, and not only in faiths like as ours, but at the end of my book, Divine Encounters, I give a translation of a Hebrew prayer, which is called the Lord of the Universe, which clearly says that this concept of Lord of the Universe, not of a solar system, not of a planet, was there before anything began, and will be there after everything ends. And, you know, a conference dealing with catastrophes might as well hear this, what I'm saying. Yes. That God will be there even after the last catastrophe.
Yes.
So this is really the concept of God. Now, how does it fit in with the Sumerian tales of Anunnaki, who came here from another planet in our own solar system? How does it dovetail with the tales in the Bible? It dovetails by saying that this entity, whether it has a shape, whether it has a form, I don't know, acts through emissaries. And this is the meaning, according as I understand it and expound it in the book in the last chapter. This is the meaning of what God answered Moses. He says, I can be whoever I want to be. So I can be Enlil, I can be Enki.
Makes sense to me.
Only my emissaries. This, I think, is the truth of what we have to understand from the Bible.
Yes. I attended a lecture once with Lee and Vivian Gladden, who I think I had mentioned before to you in passing, that wrote a book about the same subject. I think it was called Heirs of the Gods, where they talked about the celestials or the extraterrestrials or whatever, and they made the point that there were only two scriptures in the Bible, both Old and New, where the word God implied a divine, overshadowing, creative force in all creation, as opposed to all the other places, except those two, that talked about Elohim, which was different from the word.
These are gods with a small g.
Right.
This must be understood. These are gods with a small g, who in turn were the emissaries of God with the capital G. And in the New Testament, on which I'm not as an expert as I'm on the Old Testament, but even there is the statement that I'm Alpha and I'm Omega. I'm the first
beginning.
And I'm the last. I'm the beginning and I'm the end, which is exactly what the Hebrew prayer states.
That's a fascinating. There were so many questions in relation to that, but I'm very interested in the sons of God also. That is, were the Elohim the sons of the sons of God, or were the Elohim
They were the
sons of
Anunnaki,
God?
and it is their sons born on earth who married the daughters of Adam.
So then we could say then what you're saying is the Elohim were the ones that in the Hebrew is referred to as the sons of God.
No, the Elohim are what the Sumerians called Anunnaki.
Okay.
Those who from heaven to earth came.
Mm-hmm.
They are Elohim in the Bible. Indeed, when you encounter this term, and mostly in connection with the so-called pagan gods that are also called Elohim in the Bible, indeed, at some point, Joshua gives the Israelites, before they cross the Jordan into the promised land, they say, you now have a choice, like make up your mind. Do you want to follow the Elohim of Egypt? Do you want to follow the Elohim of Mesopotamia? Or do you want to follow Yahweh as the monotheistic concept of one God that rules, controls, designs, etc., everything?
You know, the prophet Daniel in the Old Testament, I think it's 4:23 in Daniel, says that he was given a vision by God where he saw the earth, and it was in a total, the words were a desolation, a destruction and a desolation of the world, in a vision taking him back to an ancient time. Can't remember exactly how the words were in Daniel, but that reminded me of Genesis 1:2, where it says that God created the heavens of the earth, or Elohim created the heavens of the earth, and the earth.
I raise my hand to tell you that I mean, indirectly you raise a very, very fundamental question for biblical scholars, and thus for theologians. In Hebrew, the verse says Bereshit, which is translated in the beginning, Elohim, God, created the heaven and the earth. And many theologians for generations, even goes back to Talmudic times, even the time of the temple, the second temple, asked how could it be that the story of creation, of beginning, starts with the second letter of the alphabet, the bet, the beta, the B, and not with the first letter of the alphabet, the aleph, the alpha. It just beats logic, beats your beliefs. And what I show in my book, the latest one, Divine Encounters, is that if you add the aleph, which may have dropped somewhere along the rewritings, etc., of the Bible, it becomes that not Bereshit, Av Reshit, the father of beginning, created Elohim, the heaven and the earth.
Oh, okay.
So the supreme creator created the Anunnaki, Elohim, the heaven and the earth.
And that is a whole different
subject. That I really hope that through this interview and all the exposure that it will thus give, that those who have the say in these matters would really consider this suggestion by me, that if you add the aleph, you give a whole new dimension to this first sentence of the first book of the Bible.
Very, very interesting, very important, I feel. The second scripture, where it says, and in that time God created the heavens and the earth was without form and void. I am told, and as I have researched this, that it can be equally and legitimately translated a different way. Rather than the earth was without form and void, it can be translated the earth was a waste and a desolation, or became a waste and a desolation, implying that there was already an earth situated, then came a great destruction, and then the earth became a waste and a void. So that the implications from what I can gather is that Genesis 1:1 is saying what you have established, and then Genesis 1:2 is saying that the earth that we have today is a recreation or a new situation, because it was an earth in former times that was destroyed.
Well, there are these interpretations of how to understand that verse, but of course there is a Sitchin interpretation,
right.
Because it is clear, not just to me, to all scholars, that the story of creation and then continuation, the Tower of Babel, the Garden of Eden, and of course the deluge, the Great Flood, are really versions, concise versions based on the earlier Sumerian writings. People have to remember that Abraham was a Sumerian, and therefore that if these are versions of the Sumerian epic of creation and no Mailish, then the words Tehom Rabbah, which are translated as chaos and all the other terms that you have mentioned, really refer to Tiamat, Rabbah, Tiamat the great Tiamat, and therefore it is precisely what the Sumerian texts say, that there was another planet and that perished in the celestial battle and the collision, and therefore the interpretation that you mentioned, though it is not linked to the words or to the name Tiamat, links to the same meaningful result. In other words, that Earth is the result of a celestial catastrophe. There was a catastrophe from which our planet emerged. Right.
Yeah.
So it leads to the same conclusion in different ways, and maybe it's good that
Yeah.
two approaches lead to the same conclusion.
Yeah, but I have always felt that there was most likely another civilization, ancient civilizations, even before, and this is just my own conjecture, even before the ones that we know of.
Definitely, you're absolutely right on that, because even according to the Sumerian tales, and especially many texts, but especially the so-called King List, that deals with the cities, antediluvial cities, and with the 10 not anti, but anti, with an E, preceding the deluge. 10 rulers, which some compared to the 10 patriarchs in the Bible before the deluge. And there were cities, there was a civilization. The Assyrian king, Ashurbanipal, boasted that he could read tablets from before the flood. So all the indications are that they recognized, referred to, and accepted this fact that there was a civilization, but a civilization of the gods, because those cities pre-diluvial are spoken of as cities of the gods.
Right.
After the deluge, there came cities of men with the help of the Anunnaki. So there was a time of let's call it a divine civilization, divine culture. As you, I'm sure, know, in the Egyptian beliefs, the priest Manetho, who paralleled the Chaldean Berosus, they lived more or less at the same time, and the heirs of Alexander in what became eventually Byzantine hired a Babylonian priest to write the history of the world of mankind based on the Mesopotamian, and the Ptolemies in Egypt hired the Egyptian priest Manetho to do the same. But the versions are very similar. Both, by the way, spoke of a series of calamities that preceded the deluge. It's not clear at what intervals.
Calamities that would have preceded the deluge.
Yeah. The deluge was just one of them, the most remembered one, right? According to Berosus, indeed, they were alternating. There were calamities by heat and fire, and then there were calamities by water and cold, etc. And Manetho also spoke about dynasties of the gods, which is the Sumerian gods, because I show in my books, especially the one Stairway to Heaven, that they were one and the same, and that if you ask yourself what do the names mean, you see that the names meant the same, except this was in ancient Egyptian, this was in Sumerian, or later Babylonian, Akkadian. And then he said there was a period, according to Manetho, of almost 3,600 years of demigods, which meant offspring of the Anunnaki, like the sons of gods. And the Bible says, married the daughters of men and had children by them.
Yes.
And these would be called demigods.
Right.
And then only began the human civilization with the pharaohs around 3,100 BC. So what you are stating very succinctly is really can be supported and expanded by all these records from the past, some available more or less complete, many just in fragments.
Well, about 20 years ago, I talked with the president of the American Rabbinical Association, who was a good friend of mine, and we used to carry on long conversations over the phone. And I asked him about in Genesis 9, I believe it is, where this is after the flood of Noah's day. God says to Noah to go forth with his sons and daughters, sons and wives, and go forth and multiply and replenish the earth. Re obviously means do again.
Right.
And yes, that's understood. It was and obviously to redo the earth because God had destroyed so much of the light. But then again, if you go back, as I said to him, if you go back to Genesis 1, I believe it's 28, where God creates Adam and Eve, and he's telling the original couple to go forth and reproduce and replenish the earth, do it again.
No, the word again does not appear there. It says, "Pru rvu mal'u et haaretz." Be fruitful in terms of having offspring. Revu, multiply, and fill the earth.
But it does not have replenish?
No.
Well, in the original,
not regarding Adam. Well,
yeah, that's what was
these
the
are
question.
the dangers of translations.
I know.
The translators really interpret.
Yeah.
No.
There are so many questions I know that I have wanted to ask in relation to the word El being one of the. Was El, in fact, a Hebrew word as such, or was El existing before the Hebrew language?
El is the Hebrew for what Hebrew stems from Akkadian.
Okay.
All Semitic languages stem from Akkadian. Uh-huh. Canaanite, Phoenician, Moabite, right, etc., stem from Akkadian, which was the language that came after the demise of the Sumerian civilization, a little before, and Babylonian, Assyrian. Mm-hmm. Right. So when I read an Assyrian text, it's almost like Hebrew. I mean, not exactly, the dialects and so on. So the Hebrew word El, which is usually translated God or divine being, really is from the Akkadian Ilu, ILU. ILU.
Yes.
And it meant literally the lofty one.
Mm.
So if you want to be very precise, you have to translate wherever it says El, you have to say the lofty one. Now, I was asked...
You mean the elites? The lofty one.
You never know. You never
right.
know. Maybe elite comes from that. Yeah. Well, it was a new subject.
Right.
I was asked, for example, by my brother about, he says, well, if Yahweh told Moses, who persisted to know, what is your name, he said to him, call me whatever, or tell, he really told him, tell the Israelites that Eheyeh asher Eheyeh, whoever I want to be, I'll be sent you to be my spokesman, emissary. So my brother asked me, and then it says there that he says, I did not tell my name to Abraham or to Isaac.
That's right. Yes.
So my brother said, so when Abraham referred to whoever told him, leave your home, go to Canaan, do this, do that.
Who was he talking to?
When he went to his wife, when he went to Isaac, and said, I'm supposed to take you to Mount Moriah.
Who did he say?
Who did he say told me that? Yeah. Good question. If he had no name. I said, well, we find an answer to that because after Abraham saved his nephew Lot from the attackers who came from Mesopotamia, the war of the kings of the east against the Canaanite kings, he saved him. He was met at the gates of the future Jerusalem by the high priest, who offered him bread and wine. And he wanted to offer Abraham some of the booty, some of the, material. And Abraham said, no, I did it because El Elyon instructed me to do it. El Elyon means the supreme El. Not the lofty one, which would be an Anunnaki, but the one who is above them, which takes you back to God with the capital G, etc., etc.
I'm so very appreciative of your time, but I really have to ask you something that's important to me. And my particular work in examining the occult or hidden symbolism in our modern day religious and political movements. I became fascinated about 20 years ago with the symbol of the sun as it is used by the secret societies, the fraternal orders, and especially in our political and religious symbolism today. It was fascinating to me that the sun, when you brought up that what we're talking about, or it was, I guess David Talbot even talked about the sun being Saturn, but the sun has been used, that sun symbol with the winged sun you brought out was the symbol of the Anunnaki.
And the symbol of Nibiru, of the so-called 12th planet.
All right. So that implies...
Because as I showed you on these monuments, which I showed just two of them, I could choose many more. And that symbol, by the way, also appears on Egyptian monuments and Hittite monuments.
Yeah.
Right? This was the symbol connecting the king, the priesthood with their gods, with the small g. That was the symbol of the planet. And as I showed on the same monument, which gives the 12 members of the solar system, you definitely see the sun, with its rays, totally separate, and the symbol of what's called the winged disk. And
Earth. Okay. So you see them simultaneously together.
On the same depictions, which are repeated and repeated, and you see Earth as the seventh planet. In many instances, you see Venus as the eighth planet with 8 rays. You see Mars as the sixth planet with 6 rays. So everything corroborates what I've written.
Well, the sun, as I said, is a particularly important symbol to me because I see it in so many political and religious depictions in the symbols. And of course, with the coming of Christianity, the concept that the Messiah is God's son, and I believe that there can be a comparison made between the ancient a veneration of the sun, S-U-N in our language, as opposed to a veneration of the individual, S-O-N. And I think probably that has some problems with our languages and interpretation. But what do you think about the symbol of the sun itself and the importance to the ancients, like the Sumerians, etc.?
Well, if you're talking about the winged disk, then this stood for the planet from which the Anunnaki came. In Sumerian times, with the ensuing Babylonian and Assyrian, the sun god, Utu in Sumerian, Shamash in Hebrew and all the other languages, was not a significant deity at all in the hierarchy. The Shamash, according to the Sumerian, and therefore further on believed by the Assyrians, Babylonians, and others, was the son of the god that in Akkadian is called Sin, not from sinning, but it really was from Sumerian Su-En. And he was the moon god. So according to these hierarchies, Shamash was the son of the moon god. Not so when it came to Nibiru. The ruler of the Nibiru stood at the head of the pantheon. So the pantheon had to do with the Anunnaki, from where they came, and the ruler there was the head, and his symbol was the winged disk. So this really has to do with all these misconceptions about who the ancient peoples really worship. Whether
that's
it
what
was,
I'm trying to get to.
And many books written, especially at the end of the 19th century and the beginning of this century, say they were these or that people were sun worshippers, and this was a sun religion. and the Egyptian called Ra. Some say Re, but it's Ra. I mean, the same people who spell it Re, R-E, then go and write the name of the pharaoh Ramses. Ramses, which means issue, emanating from Ra. So when they say the name of the pharaoh, they say Ra, but when they say the name of the god, they spell it Re. So it's Ra, because it also appears in the Bible. So they say he was the sun god. He was not the sun god. He was the god who came from the planet of millions of years, which is the parallel of Nibiru. A planet, definitely a planet, not the sun. So there's so many misconceptions that it may take a century to get rid of, because it's an accumulation of 2-3 centuries of research.
In my collection, I have about 4 or 5. I think it's 5. 2 of them are doctoral theses, and others are articles, long, extended articles appearing in the Middle East on the word chief cornerstone. And I picked up on that. That was a fascinating study where the word chief cornerstone is translated from the Hebrew when it appears in Hebrew, which is, I think, Psalms 118:22, where Messiah is referred to as the chief cornerstone. While in the Christian Greek scriptures of the New Testament, the Messiah or Jesus is referred to twice as the chief cornerstone. That word chief cornerstone, what does that actually imply for the Messiah in both Psalms and then the Greek?
It is not cornerstone. In other words, when you lay the foundation, you have a cornerstone.
Right.
It's the apex stone. Rosh Pinah, the head where the sides meet, like in a pyramid. The apex stone, the top stone, the one that is really the conduit to the heavens.
Yeah, because I that's what these articles were all saying. Everyone was saying it was the pinnacle of
pinnacle.
Yes.
But not foundation stone on the ground.
Now, the big question, of course, obviously is going to be, on the back of the $1 bill, of course, is the Egyptian pyramid with the 72 stones of the 72 names of God, I believe. But the implication
with the apex, with floating heavenward,
right?
Yeah.
And if that
which is the Masonic symbol,
that's right. But it is also, as you brought out, the word actually in Hebrew in Psalm 118, which means the peak of the pinnacle.
The pinnacle.
And remember, even in the New Testament, when Satan takes Jesus to the temple to tempt him, the scripture says he takes him up to the pinnacle of the temple, to the point of the temple. I am totally sure that there's a lot of symbolism that the early...
I think we should rewrite the Bible in English, not in Hebrew.
That's very important.
As a matter of fact, I was thinking about a new translation based on my understanding of it.
I think that would be absolutely important for so many people in the Western world to get a better grasp on the symbolism, the implications of the original words, where they came from, and just get a new understanding from where all of this came.
With your help,
yes, I would love to.
May come to be.
Is there anything else you might tell us about that symbol of the pinnacle or the chief cornerstone, and how that might be of importance to us, particularly in this time that we're living, when everyone seems to be especially in the Christian world, looking for the Messiah? What would be your thoughts on the concept of the Messiah, the chief cornerstone, the coming back, God's
You don't
kingdom?
think I'll be drawn into that? No.
I don't.
No.
Oh, okay.
You tried.
Okay. All right. Because I will go on record as saying I think that there is an entire story here that needs to be looked at. This whole concept of a coming kingdom of God, the Messianic kingdom, the chief cornerstone, the ancient gods. There seems to be...
I think that the literal translation, even from the New Testament, is not just the second coming, but the return of the kingdom of heaven, right?
Yes, return. That brings us to probably
the conclusion of this interview.
Well, the planet Nibiru. Is there anything I can have you say concerning the return of Nibiru that you?
Not yet, but
okay.
I promise you another interview.
I promise
when I can speak about it.
Let me again say that it is not only a pleasure but an honor to be with you, and I do very much appreciate your time.
It's always a pleasure to be interviewed by someone who knows almost as much as I do. I leave a little for myself.
You are a giant, and I appreciate
your
time. Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
And thank you very much for watching. This is Jordan Maxwell.
Okay, people, that is the conclusion of that interesting interview with the legendary Zecharia Sitchin by the also legendary Jordan Maxwell. So, towards the end of his life, coincidentally, he had a book called The End of Days. So this is from 2009 at the Conscious Life Expo. And a man named Guido Hugenboom interviews him. So here we go. This is a very short one. This is only just about 15 minutes long. So here we go.
My name is Guido Hugenboom. Today is the 15th of February in the year 2009. I'm in the Hilton Hotel where we have the Conscious Life Expo. And my guest is Zecharia Sitchin, world-renowned teacher and lecturer, scientist and foremost authority on the Sumerian clay tablets. 9 years ago, we met each other in Amsterdam at the UFO Congress. And it was really a pleasure. And now we see each other again. And I would like to ask you about your book, The End of Days, which you wrote in the year 2008. And then the expression, the end of days, you find it also in the Bible. So maybe most people know this also from this source of information.
Well, it's not also from the Bible. It's only from the Bible, where the Hebrew term is Acharit Hayamim, and it translated. I prefer the translation "end of days." In other biblical translations, even in English, it is the last days, the final days. But it really deals with what nowadays people interested in what's about to happen are interested in the so-called end days, as if the days, the calendar, the era is due to come to an end. So what will happen then? This is what the term means, the end of days.
And does that also mean that something will happen with time?
Well, time is something difficult to define, if you know. I wrote a book titled about it, what time is. But it's some kind of an expectation, which, as far as I'm concerned, is based on biblical prophecies, mostly the Old Testament, but also the New Testament, which say that a time will come when things will happen, very important things that will affect mankind and our planet.
Yes. Now, what I learned as a child from the Bible was that the end of days meant a total destruction of the earth. Is that something which you relate to?
No, if your teacher taught you that, then you had the wrong teacher.
Supposedly. Now, if you would like to characterize the essence of your book and the conclusions, what would that be? What kind of conclusions would you say?
Well, the book, which is titled The End of Days, and is available not only in English, is available in many languages by now, though not in Dutch yet, has a subtitle. And sometimes the subtitle is more revealing than the title. And the subtitle is Armageddon and Prophecies of the Return. So this is really what my book, that starts from way back, reviews history, reviews events, reviews the reasons for the prophecies, deals with, is Armageddon and Prophecies of the Return.
Yes. Now, in your book, you write that in the year 2024, before BC, that something happened then also like a calamity in connection with the book.
For the first time, nuclear weapons were used on Earth. For the first time in 2024 BC, not at Hiroshima, but in the Sinai Peninsula.
Yes. So now, what happened then, and there's one thing which I remember, which I read in your book, that Marduk was talking also about, in those days, about the loving female energy which appeared then also in those days. Do we see something like this right now too, that the female energy is increasing on this planet?
Female?
The female, yes.
That's not in my book.
No, what I was reading was motherly love. What Marduk said, that was manifesting.
He never said that.
Oh,
You're mixing it with some other books. There are plenty of books that flourished from my writings, and not necessarily always correct. So I'd rather stick with what I said.
all right. Yes, I thought I was reading that, but doesn't matter.
No.
Now, the end of days, the year 2012 and 13. This is in accordance also with the Sumerian clay tablets and maybe also with the Maya calendar.
No, this is supposedly the 2012 is supposedly an end date based on the Mayan calendar, which will be the subject of my presentations here at the Conscious Life Expo, and also in my book, The End of Days. It is not that such a date does not appear in the biblical prophecies, and certainly does not appear in the Sumerian clay tablets.
It does not. Now, what I would like to ask you, Nibiru, the 10th planet, is it moving away from the Earth and the Sun, or is it coming towards us?
Coming towards us.
Coming towards us. What does that cause on our planet?
Well, when it is eventually, and I deal with the dates in my book, The End of Days, when eventually it will be near us, near Earth, at its apogee, perigee, it'll have all kinds of effects. At one time, it caused the deluge, the Great Flood. So it may have a definite phenomena involved in its appearance, but more important for us today, for the present generation, is the return not of the planet but of the gods, the ancient gods. Yes, this is a more closer event to be anticipated.
Now, in the year 2008, the Pope, he said that he believes that in other parts of the universe also there were civilizations, alien civilizations. Can you comment on this, please?
Yes, well, first of all, I had a public in front of almost 1,000 people. I had a dialogue with the Vatican spokesman on the subject, Monsignor Balducci,
Yes.
who passed away, by the way, a year or two ago, about it. And he was a fan of mine. He read all my books. He saw no problem for the Vatican in what I'm saying. Indeed, he said for the Vatican, for Christians, to deny the possibility that the same universal God created intelligent life not only on a tiny speck of dust that we call Earth, but elsewhere as well. To say that's not possible, that means to deny the omnipotence of God. So theologically, he said, the possibility of intelligent life at whatever stage of development is not ruled out at all, and therefore he quite agreed with what I wrote. And then had meetings in the Vatican. I describe all that in one of my books titled Journeys to the Mythical Past, which again is translated into many European languages, but though not in Holland. So the Vatican's attitude is almost positive, but certainly not negative.
So can we say that maybe by what the Pope said that this could mean there will be a breakthrough?
Well, I'm not a spokesman for the Vatican, but my opinion is that yes, the answer to your question is yes.
Now, since Corrado Balducci is not alive anymore, are you in touch with other people of the Vatican?
Indirectly, yes.
Indirectly, yes. My last question is, will the Anunnaki be here, or second last question, will the Anunnaki be here in the year 2012-13?
No.
No. Then the real last question: if a major movie maker like Steven Spielberg would like to make a feature movie on the Anunnaki, would you approve of this, and would you be maybe willing to consult him on the subject? And like we have seen in the movie Close Encounters of the Third Kind, I think from '77, there Jacques Vallée, he was portrayed in this movie as the professor, expert on UFOs. Could you see yourself to fulfill such a role in there as a character in such a movie?
Are you authorized by Spielberg to ask the question?
Yes, I will ask you, Spielberg, the question, but first I would like to know your reaction to this.
Yeah, he is aware of my writings, and let's leave it at that.
Yes. Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you.
You're welcome.
The interview. And
my best wishes to all your viewers. Holland is a wonderful place, and I have nice memories from our interview.
Thank you very much for having been with us here, and I hope to see you in the future.
Okay, we are back, people. That was 2 recordings. One was the interview, one was a follow-up just before he died. And I'm really glad we did the follow-up because it seemed to touch on the things that the other interview had left hanging. I wish I would have interviewed Zecharia Sitchin because it seemed like both of the interviewers were confused by his language. He has a thick accent, or I should say, he had one before he graduated. And the people that were interviewing him seemed to get confused and lost a couple of times on very key points. It was a little disappointing there, but still some great information came out. And dissecting Yahweh, the name, the history of all this. He's saying all of the cultures that we know of, the ancient cultures, all branched, even Egypt, all came from this one earlier culture. And they had these different names. Sound meant different things. There were so many different definitions, including this idea that Yahweh meant I can be whoever I choose. Think about that one. You create your own reality. We talk about that so much. So you choose the person you want to be, and that sets up the attractive force. That's an entirely different podcast episode. He talked about this greater entity acting through emissaries and how that shows up in various cultures throughout the world. He just tied it all together, taking it a step back, millions of years. Go back, before. And where did it start? I just loved all the things he talked about. And honestly, he'd be very surprised and excited, I think, to see where humanity is today. And I remember when I had the guest Linda Starwolf on, she talked about how she sat next to Zecharia Sitchin for a promotional situation for the book company that published her book at that time. And how amazing it was to have that time to have a one-on-one conversation with Zecharia Sitchin. Wow. Pretty amazing stuff. The Anunnaki. And one point where Jordan Maxwell got confused and it really threw off the conversation was that he was saying that the Elohim were the Anunnaki and the sons of God were the Nephilim, which were the children of the Anunnaki with the humans. And he got confused by that, and they never really went back to that. But he said it. So the Elohim were these original created beings, according to him, created with the heavens and the earth, also known as the Anunnaki. Their children were the sons of God, as described in the Bible, Genesis 6:1-4, the Nephilim that had the hybrid DNA. So much to unpack there. Definitely check out his bibliography. I mean, my God, Zecharia Sitchin is a legend. Do I agree with everything he says? I'm not sure. Because so much is out there. He's talking about a 12th planet. Not many people talk about the fact that there's over 500 planetary objects in our own solar system. So how does all that play into this? Dwarf planets. I bet you didn't know that. Well, maybe some people did. We're talking about 15 planets pretty much here. I mean, it's Make, Haume, Eris, Pluto. We remember Pluto. We didn't forget about you, Pluto. Sedna. I mean, it's mind-blowing. And some of these planets, I believe Haume has moons. Maybe Eris has moons as well. Take a deep dive on that. There's more than 12 planets in our own solar system, people, if you count these dwarf planets like Pluto. There's 8 planets according to modern astronomy and science. We'll just say, according to modern science, Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune. Pluto, I grew up with Pluto. I didn't forget about Pluto. Pluto's like the family dog that got taken to the pound, but the kid still loves it. Ceres, Ceres. It's a dwarf planet. So now we're at 10. Eris is 11. Haume, Haumea, is 12. Make is 13. Okay, so there's 13. We have 13 planets in our solar system for real. For real. Everything you've ever known about that has been incorrectly taught to you if you don't know that already. Oh, wait, did I forget about Sedna orbiting farther than Neptune, trans-Newtonian objects? So that's 14. Quaoar, Quaoar, that's 15. Do the deep dive on that, people. Do the deep dive on Zecharia Sitchin. We had an incredible episode. I loved it. I loved how he talked about divinity and the history of divinity and our relationship with it. There's mysteries to this universe that we haven't even cracked the surface on yet, people. So thank you for joining us. Thank you for listening to Zecharia and Jordan. We got to tap into his frequency a little bit. Check out his books. He has so many of them. And check out Vital Force Herbs with Bryn Anderson, our incredible sponsor. And happy 2025, everyone. We're here. We did it. 2025. We're still alive. And thank the divine for that. We're here. We're still here experiencing this. And we will see you next week. Midnight on Earth.